What's up? What's up, beautiful people? It is your friend Luke here again. Today we are going to be making some vegetarian baos, and I'm going to be talking to you guys about self-perception. So let's do it. Hello, all of you absolutely marvelous individuals. Thank you for tuning in. It's Thursday, and pat yourself on the back. You're almost done this week. But let's get right into it. So, as some of you guys may know, I started a new job recently, and it's around 1 month in. And this week, things started to get very, very intense. A couple days ago, on Tuesday, I was finished work at maybe 6 o'clock, started at around 8:30, and I was pretty exhausted. And you might ask, what did you do after work, Luke? Did you make yourself a drink? Did you cook up some food? Did you kick back and watch some Netflix? Actually, for some really strange and stupid reason, I decided to go for a run. And on my run, I was thinking about how funny it was I was running after a tiring day of work. I was thinking about how me in grade 6, me in grade 10, or maybe even me a couple of years ago would have thought this was completely ridiculous. And I just kind of thought about how far I've come in terms of my perception about my own body, my perception about my confidence, and just my general love towards myself and how I want to be presented in an outward fashion. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. And I'm also going to be making you guys some veggie baos. Much like losing a lot of weight, it seems extremely easy to make baos, but it is honestly a little bit harder than you think. And as you attempt it more and more, it becomes easier and easier. So let's get started. As some of you guys may know, I spent a lot of my childhood traveling with my parents. They were trying to find a place to kind of settle down outside of China. But as you guys know, traveling with a very young kid is very, very daunting. Now, my parents had always joked around with me that I was a very heavy baby when I was born, but this problem got exemplified when they sent me back to China to live with my grandfather. My grandfather was an excellent chef. He is still the best chef in my entire family, and he always made me whatever I wanted to eat, and he would make sure I ate a lot. And for any of you Asians out there, I think you would know that there is this general perception that while weight is very important in Asian culture, I would say that's not necessarily assigned onto males. So my weight was never something that kind of I thought about when I was young. And it wasn't really something I thought about until I moved to Canada. I remember I moved to Canada in grade 4. And during that time, my dad had brought me out to a city called Peterborough, which was not very Chinese populated. And his, reasoning for this was so that I could kind of fast track my English learning, which, by the way, was actually very, very successful. And I remember at the school, there was a lot of misunderstandings about who I was, just because a lot of people actually had never seen someone like me before. But I remember this one time just seeing these kids kind of laughing and pointing at me, and I wasn't really sure why they were doing that, but I could kind of tell that the intention there wasn't necessarily positive. And I guess this kind of started my journey of self-doubt and not really loving the body that my mind was in. Now, I just have to give a quick disclaimer. This video is not to teach people how to lose weight, nor is it a video to kind of encourage people to lose weight. The purpose of this video is to share a perspective. I am someone who was heavy for most of my life. At one point, I was around 240 pounds. At this stage in my life, I was very unfit, but there have been stages in my life where I was 220 pounds and I was very fit, as I will cover a little bit later on. What I really want to focus this video on is self-perception, because as someone who is heavier, I actually wanted to lose weight multiple times in my life, but I was only successful at one of them. And the reason I was successful is because I was able to kind of change the reasoning and the motivation for why I did so. And a large part of that had to do with self-perception. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's get started. So the first reason I wanted to lose weight was actually from my parents. My parents love me very, very, very much, but the way they kind of communicate this sometimes is not necessarily in the method that I wish to be communicated in. So, for example, when I entered high school, they would tell me things like, hey, so-and-so is doing this. Why are you not playing any sports? Or so-and-so is doing that. Maybe you could do that and lose a little bit of weight. And it was the first time I realized some people that were really close to me actually, were, I guess, concerned about my physical appearance. Because of this, I ended up joining a couple sports teams. I wrestled and I played rugby during high school, and I really loved doing both of those things. But unfortunately for my parents, those are both sports where having some size was decently advantageous, and I also wrestled in a very heavy weight class. So because of that, I never actually ended up shredding any pounds. But that was pretty much the first reason I wanted to lose weight. Now, later on in high school, I started to desire to lose weight for a different reason, and this time it was for a social reason. And if you guys have been to high school, you will probably know that it's actually because of girls. In grade 11, I started to develop a lot of strong feelings for a few people, and I started to notice, the guys that they were crushing on were usually a little bit lighter. They usually had better fashion senses, and I tried to imitate these things, obviously to various degrees of success. All this to say, it never ended up working out. Once they kind of got into relationships, I just gave up this, journey of wanting to lose weight, and that's kind of how that motivation ended. So you might get this gist that from these past two motivations that, I had pretty low self-esteem. And yeah, honestly, you'd be right. Despite the fact that I was competing at a pretty high athletic level, despite the fact that I had a lot of friends, and despite the fact that I knew my parents loved me, I didn't really love myself. And I didn't mean my personality. I didn't love the way I was presented to the world. I always thought that I was kind of like a fat kid, like this idea of a stereotypical fat kid. I always thought that I had to do more to kind of receive the same amount of affection and love and just regular social affirmation from other people. I always thought that I had to be more abrasive, louder. I had to be funnier. I had to do things to make people like me. When we went out, I should, buy people stuff just because that's what, a quote unquote stereotypical fat kid does. And again, this is not something that was placed onto me by my friends because they're actually all really, really awesome people. But these are things that I thought about myself. And I think it's because of this kind of low self-esteem that whenever I try to lose weight, I would always be very, very, very hard on myself. If I missed a gym day, I would say really nasty things to myself. If I didn't lose weight over a week after I started my training, it would reflect really badly on my mood. And, I would start neglecting like just simple pleasures. Like when people were inviting me to sushi buffets for their birthdays, I felt bad about doing that. And all this to say, it kind of led to, by the time I was finishing high school, I honestly just kind of gave up on my weight. I didn't really care as much. That year, I actually didn't even make it to provincials for wrestling. And I just gave up. I gave up on my public image. I just did whatever I wanted to. And then I went off to university. Now, when I got to university, it was a very transformative experience for me. It was the first time in life that I was actually in control of everything, but I was also responsible for everything. I had to balance school and work and my social life. I got to make new friends, and I had to because I didn't know anyone in that city. I had to think about my future and what I actually wanted to do for the rest of my life. And all of these things helped me build a lot of confidence. For the longest time, I always thought of myself as someone who tried to boost other people up as much as possible. I'd always make my guy friends uncomfortable by telling them they have a really cute ass in those jeans, or I'd be telling my friends just that, hey, like you can achieve way more than what you're doing now. Your doubt is really stupid. And if you don't start believing that you can achieve those things, I'm going to kick your ass. Like I was that kind of guy, But for the first time in my life, I started to be proud of myself. I started to think that like, wow, like you actually did do that. And it was pretty awesome. Now, the biggest jump in confidence that I personally had was I had a romantic encounter in second year that lasted a few months. Now, in high school, I didn't really have that much luck with the ladies. So I really thought that when I went to university, this would kind of be my big break. And in a way it was, in first year, I did have lots of really, really great memories, met a lot of cool people. But I think that a lot of those encounters were very shallow, and they were kind of really just based on this idea that, hey, we're in a totally different environment. Let's just go wild and do whatever we wanted. But I remember distinctly in this specific romantic encounter I had, there was just this feeling of peace and this feeling of I was enough. I used to always think that when I was like in my emo antsy phase in high school, man, like why won't these people date me, or why don't they like me? I'm like literally the perfect guy. And then I remember one time I thought, but would I want my daughter to date someone like me? And I was like, maybe I would prefer that my daughter dated someone who was like me, but looked a little bit better. And here was this person in front of me that accepted me looking even worse than I did in high school. And that made me feel something that I guess I didn't really understand before. That made me realize, I had value, and that value has kind of always existed. Unfortunately, that relationship didn't work out, and the months kind of came and went. I remember that New Year's, I was writing down my goals that year, just writing down that I wanted to, really accomplish a lot of things. I wanted to get a good internship. I wanted to find a good exchange spot to go to, save up money, make sure that everything was financially stable, and also go on a lot of cool trips with my friends and have a lot of fun. But I started to notice, almost every single year before that year, on New Year's, I would resolve myself to lose weight. And it just nagged at me a little bit. And I started to think about it a little bit. And I thought, why not just give it another shot? It can't hurt, right? If I don't do it, it's just another year. So I decided to give it another shot. But there was one major difference. And it was the way I thought about this goal. When I wanted to lose weight in the past, I always came into it thinking that it was going to make me more whole. It was going to make me happier. It was going to make me more proud of myself. And in many ways it did, but not in the sense that I was approaching it previously. I was looking for this weight loss thing to fill a void. But now I was kind of going into this weight loss thing as a way to better myself. I was already proud of myself. I already had a great group of friends. I had people who loved me, and I had a lot of great goals and ambitions I was accomplishing. I was already whole. And that's why I was able to accomplish this goal. And I'm here today to tell all of you that you are enough. You deserve love, and you deserve every good thing coming to you. You guys are intelligent, marvelous, serendipitous individuals who are super sexy. Those love handles that you hate, someone really wants to grab onto those. Those dimples that you don't like are absolutely beautiful. And I just want you to know that I love you. So if you want to lose weight, good. Maybe that's even great. But don't lose weight to prove something to other people. Lose weight for yourself. You are amazing. You are good enough already. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Oh yeah, I also made some veggie baos. I hope you try that out too. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out this whole video style stuff. So, engage with me in the comments, man. I wanna know what you guys like. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye.